speak with the Benfica manager as part of the Think in Football Summit, and get an opportunity to have you share some of the opinions that you have of Portuguese football, Portuguese players after a few months now here in our country. So that is the first question, actually. It's been a little bit over 5 months since you arrived. What are your impressions of the Portuguese game, and was there anything that surprised you?
Yeah, first, thanks for your words. Yeah, I think, of course, I already had some impressions of Portuguese football because I played a few times against Portuguese teams in the Champions League and also in the Europa League, and so I know that it's always a very tough matches. And to be honest, I'm very open. Always when I start in a new country, I'm interested in everything, in the culture, in general in the culture, but also in the culture of football. So that's why I also like to be abroad. So we started here, and I got impressions of my own team, of my players, of their mindset, of their style of working, and then of course when we started also in the season, I get impressions of the other teams. And of course, if you start preparing your own team for the matches against Portuguese teams, of course you analyze them, and then you get fresh impressions, and then match by match, yeah, it becomes more clear. And what I can say is after 5 months is a very tough competition, in my opinion. Also when I compare it with the other leagues where I worked before. So I think each single match is a challenge to prepare. But then also sometimes you get very surprised during the matches because the approach of the teams are different than you expected. But what I already recognized is that especially in the defense, when you play against teams who have not the same situation like Benfica or like Porto, like Sporting, like the top teams, but nevertheless they are very good organized. They are always very brave, and in my opinion they are very good also in defending. So that's is my first impression after 5 months in the Portuguese league.
I've heard you use that expression, brave, quite a lot, and before some Champions League matches you said you wanted your team to be brave. In Europe you had obviously experiences in Germany, in Austria, in the Netherlands. As far as the football here, what do you think distinguishes it from the others where you've had an opportunity to work?
Oh, it's very difficult to compare one league with the other. It's already difficult to compare one team with the other in the Portuguese league. So then to compare a whole league is very difficult for me. But what I said at the beginning in the first statement already, that I think the teams, when you play against them, they always believe also in their own chance. So my feeling is they believe they can win. So it's not like they are happy when they are not lose with too many goals. So I think that's the first thing, and then of course it depends on the game. How is the story of the game? If you score early, of course it's more easy. But if you are not scoring and maybe they score, then it can become very difficult. And then especially because what I said first, because they are very good in defending, and especially deep defending around the box. So I think that's something I already noticed. And in some other countries, when you play against teams from lower positions in the ranking, you have not the feeling at the beginning of the match they really believe they can win the game. So I think that's maybe a difference to other leagues.
I think it's been clear to see so far here this season that you're not afraid to give young players a chance. Tell me about the role that you think you have to help some of these players, talented players, improve at a club like this one that has such a great academy. And is that a way for Portuguese clubs as well to remain sustainable, considering that it's very difficult to compete with the top 3-4 leagues?
Yeah, I think it's a clear philosophy of Benfica to develop young players to play in the first team, and then maybe if they are good enough also to sell them, and to use also this philosophy to have the money to play on top level in European football. And I think it is a very good philosophy, because I think for each club is a very big value if young players from the own academy are playing in the first team. So it is also a little bit about identification for the club, but also for the supporters. I think at Benfica, for example, they want to see these young boys from academy also in the first team, a few of them. Of course, that you cannot play only with them. If you want to play Champions League and you want to play knockout stage Champions League, only to play with the own guys, own boys, is very difficult. But to have some in the team is something very good. I like that, to be honest, and I think it has to be also for all the clubs. It has to be a goal to have young boys in their team. So some clubs are not able to do it. So, but if you have a club like Benfica, or also other clubs in Portugal, or also other clubs in Europe, and they are continuously developing young players to first team players, is a very good sign for the culture in the club. And I think it is something. Is a quality thing. That's what. To be honest, it was also one reason to come here to work with these young players.
And obviously the Academy has won so many prizes internationally as well, and continues to produce a lot of talented players, and it's a great opportunity to continue with that philosophy to remain sustainable. When we think about the Portuguese league, and again, I know you've already complimented the attitude of the teams here, the quality of the football, do you think that it has an opportunity to grow and break into the top 4, top 5? What's missing in your perspective?
Yeah, top 4, top 5. I think Portugal is a great country, but it's also a small country. There are only, I think, around 10 million people living in Portugal, and of course, if the pool of young players is a little bit smaller than in other countries. In Germany, we have 70 million people. I don't know exactly what is the number in the other countries, but for sure much more than in Portugal. I think the position of Portugal right now in European football is very, very good, and in my opinion is also developing. I think the teams, the top teams, so now Porto and us, we are sporting almost. So it was very close. Then 3 Portuguese teams were in the knockout stage of Champions League. If you see how some big teams, they miss the knockout stage, not the first time, already the second time. If you see, for example, Barcelona, so big teams. So I think what happens right now in Portugal is already very good, but of course you can always grow, you can always try to develop, and part of this development of course is that the Portuguese league, also the competition in Portugal is on high level, so that affects also a little bit the development in European football. But I see that, so I see the quality, the style of football in Portugal is very good in the league. But also if the top teams playing in international football, also Braga is doing very well. So in my opinion, it's never easy to play against Portuguese teams, and I think the last year it becomes more difficult. So I think the direction of Portuguese football is very good.
You've talked about Portuguese players, you've talked about the Portuguese league. What about the Portuguese people? What have you learned from being here and living in Portugal?
For me, I feel very welcome, to be honest. I think the culture, the Portuguese culture is very kindly, very friendly, so very positive. I see a lot of very positive. I feel a lot of positive energy in the country, especially in the city in Lisboa, because I'm in Lisboa, but I really appreciate to live here and to work here. So it's for sure one of my best decisions ever to come here.
Glad to hear it. Regarding events such as this one, Thinking Football Summit, which is joining top international experts in the football industry to discuss important topics in the European football landscape, what do you think the importance is of having events like this and joining so many, I guess, great minds and great careers together?
I think it's very, very important. So something like this brainstorming, so some experts come together with different with different topics, and then to discuss a few things, to have the time also to sit at the table and to discuss some very important topic for football, I think is crucial for development. So if you want to develop something, if you talk about, so what is the next step for Portuguese football, of course these people, they have to come together and they have to talk about it. They have to meet and they have to spend time together, and I think then you can make the next step. You can think about the next steps. So I really think is something very important for football. So I was there also when we had the meeting with the UEFA. So also there you can talk about different things. So I think it is something with a high value.
We're going to finish with a personal question. How would you describe yourself? Who is Roger Schmidt?
Oh, that's
I guess as a person and as a coach, and how close those two have to be constantly interlinked.
I'm in the normal life. In my normal life, I'm like I am as a coach. So I am not not trying to be different. I think one important thing in football, or also when you work as a coach, is that you are authentic, and to make it also easier for yourself. If you always play a role, it's much more difficult. So I try to enjoy football. So I enjoyed it as a player, and I enjoy it also now as a coach. And I want to have a good time. So I know in football, if you want to have a good time, you need success. So at Benfica, that means you have to play for prizes. But I enjoy every day with the players to be on the pitch, with the staff around, and then work together that we are performing well. Then at the weekend or in the week during the matches, to make the fans happy and proud. So that's my motivation. But I am like I am, so I never pretend anything else. So I try to also to distinguish a little bit when I'm together with the players. Of course, I have to guide them and lead them as players, but behind every player is also a human being. I try to see also the human being, because I know if the players they should perform on their best level. And in my opinion, they can only perform on their best level when they feel happy, when they are in a good mood. And that's why I think sometimes you also have to know what is behind the player.
Well, so far it's worked. I think it's fair to say. Undefeated start to the season. Congratulations again. Thank you for taking the time to speak to the Thinking Football Summit. We know how busy your agenda is. Hope you get a little bit of rest over the next few weeks, and continued success this season.
Thanks a lot, and greetings to all the attendants at the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado pela presença de todos aqui. Terminamos assim a primeira manhã de Thinking Football. Depois do almoço convidamos a voltarem aqui ao Arena Stage. Temos um painel que vai discutir a Premier League e os matches inside, mas há mais. Vai ser discutido futebol internacional, um keynote de Luís Campos, um painel sobre agentes desportivos e muito mais. Portanto, voltamos à tarde. Um abraço.